and welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I'll be your host, be it a Tuesday, a Wednesday, far in the future, or back in the past. And speaking of back in the past, last year I was joined by a man who he had a bit of mystical stuff going on. You could say he had a mystical machine. You could say he actually had a Machina Arcana. And we had a chat, and we've been having a chat on and off ever since. And so we decided it was time to get this gentleman back on. This gentleman is Mr. Bilic, Mr. Uri Bilic. Hello, sir. How are you?
Good evening, Richard, and thank you for bringing me back for another episode.
Oh my days. This is you doing your movie voice. Because you've got a cold.
Yeah, my Avengers voice.
And I've got a cold. So we could do like a start. We could do like you could actually read the Travel the Unknown, face the horrors, and survive the story. An immersive and dark experience awaits you and your group of explorers.
And enjoy the new Transformers, how they assemble and rule the universe.
Are you meant to be Megatron, or are you meant to be Optimus Prime? We must protect the humans
I'm a
at all costs.
personality, so based on how I feel, I just swap between them.
You could be either.
It's just sickness. Yeah, it's just sickness coming and speaking through me, so I don't have any control of that.
Oh my dear. Oh my dear. Right, so way back in September, Machina Arcana was on Kickstarter. It feels like a long time ago. But when you actually think about it, it was only about 3 months ago.
Well, a little bit more. Was it? Yeah. Well, we started it in September, and it was like 23 days. The campaign lasted, and it felt like ages ago because a lot of things just keep happening in the interim. So the time dilation is just awesome thing.
Because you ended up on £330,000 as far as kind of like the your
strange currency. I'm not using pounds and stones. Are you using stones? You really?
No, just pounds and pennies, not pounds and stones. Pounds and stones is how we do weight. This is the UK. The imperial system is that, there's still people that use kilograms, but there's still people that use kind of pounds and stones when they're measuring things, because it's one of these things is if I get on a weighing scale, and if I go on a weighing scale and I say, well, I'm 15 stone, that's not that bad. But if I get on a weighing scale and it says I'm like 80 kilograms, I think that makes me kind of cry a bit. I'm a bit, so 15's fine, but 80, I'm just like, oh no, this is not a good place to kind of be in. Were you pleased with the end result? I mean, with the actual final funding target?
So yeah, I mean, quite a strange number. I didn't expect that, to be honest. Although based on just the amount of work and with just all the professionals that I work with, and in bringing the project to the level of quality that we really envisioned it, I am then not surprised. So it's a yes and no, to be honest, because we put a lot of even money and effort and time, and we've spent years in order to hone the project. So in that regard, yeah, I mean, it's a quality project, and we stand behind that. But it's Kickstarter, and you never know how things are going to turn out. Even though we had a first Kickstarter in 2013 and it was quite successful, at that time it was almost $150,000. I'm not sure how much is that in pounds, about 110, something about that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, 120, 110, 120, yeah.
True, yeah. And even though we had a lot of returning backers, we still didn't know. We were treading in unknown territory. So all in all, it was a very, very good project for us.
Did you in terms of advertising and getting the name out there, did you spend money on kind of marketing and advertising to kind of help get the name out there? Or, I mean, have you done any kind of post-mortem on tracking kind of where the interest kind of came from? Obviously there'll be part of it which will be previous backers. I do remember seeing you guys kind of crop up again and again on like Facebook. So were you doing kind of adverts on different platforms when you advertised?
Exactly. Yeah. And, it's all about marketing, especially in Kickstarter. Mm-hmm. Wherever you're pushing a new product, the market needs to respond to it. And if you just, if you build it, it's not going to come. So you need to be out there. And you can be out there in many ways. A lot of game designers are just out there physically to conventions, to all the other like cafes and board game, how do you call it, like board game parlors where people gather around and play. So that's one way that you can really be there. Another way, just to spend a shitload of money. So each one has its own bonuses and ups and downs, like pros and cons. In my situation, I tried mainly to focus on Essen Spiel and on Facebook advertising. So that's the biggest bulk of the marketing for Machina Arcana.
Mm-hmm.
Just to expand on that, I've done the research in like spending for YouTube, for Twitter, for Board Game Geek, and all the other stuff. Well, the profit margin is not as good as with Facebook. Facebook really reigns in that. But also just to put an additional thing in that, we also used a couple of some kind of banners that you can pay, and that they are then present on a lot of different gaming sites. Banners and like advertisers, we contacted them directly. I'm not sure what's the impact on that, because I don't see their report, their impression, their click-through rates, but I guess it's minimal. But even though, I mean, it's something.
Do you not think it's kind of like exposure? I mean, if you go onto a Facebook group, and the first thing you usually go on to is you'll see the banner at the top. So if people are seeing the name, the familiarity, if they see something again and again and again, when people kind of start to talk about it, it's kind of like, oh, I've heard of that actually, and I'll maybe go ahead and kind of check it out. Because I mean, let's face it, I mean, even going from $150,000 up to where you ended up this time, that's a huge jump. I mean, a lot of the campaigns I've seen will go up by 50,000, 70,000. If it's a similar, almost like a second edition of a game. I saw it with City of Kings when they released their kind of second print run of the game. Gloomhaven again is another one where there was a reasonable chunk. But I mean, doubling your money. I mean, that was a pretty decent. That was a pretty decent kind of uplift. Did that affect the scope of what was going to happen with production? Did you have to reconsider the kind of like the production schedule and what you were going to do in relation to the components? Because obviously when you hit those levels of funding, then you're into kind of such bigger levels in terms of kind of like the stretch goals. I mean, did you have to kind of rethink the production plan kind of going forward?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Not just the production plan, but considering we hit all of our stretch goals quite fast. We did some kind of a new concept that's called like extra goals, and you couldn't pledge for them during the campaign, but you could after the pledge manager was opened. after the campaign ended. So in that way, I've put a lot of time buffer, in order to consolidate all of our strategic aspects like distribution and production, and to offer the best possible prices, but not in any way endanger the timeline that we had. So with those extra goals, we offered additional like components products that you can buy for the pledge manager. But they were not gonna impede with our production costs, because most of them are gonna be produced with another with another manufacturer. For example, the book is gonna be produced in Europe, then the game mats as well, and so in that way, we've alleviated the problem of just waiting for more waiting time, but also to offer more products to the backers.
Did that, with you offering the kind of the products after, the additional kind of extras in the pledge manager, did that allow you to continue? Did it give you a reason to continue to communicate with the backers on like an ongoing basis, just to to encourage them to come along, to encourage them to kind of have a look at the pledge manager? Because I know for a lot of people, they'll I think they fall into a couple of camps. You'll get people who will, as soon as they get the link to the pledge manager, they'll be going straight in and they'll pay whatever the additional shipping is or whatever extras they want, and then they'll disappear. Or you get ones that they wait until they've kind of had they've almost had the threatening email to say that their pledge is being cancelled before they kind of take action. Did this, with you running the kind of the extra, did it give you an excuse to kind of have more communication with the backers to kind of keep engaging with them?
Maybe. I don't know really, because that's just one. I don't have a control group, because there's just one campaign and one pledge manager, but our communication is still a constant on almost day-to-day basis, and especially because that's such a big number of backers, because there's always somebody with some kind of a questions. Mostly they come not just through comments, but also in the form of Kickstarter private messaging. So there's a lot of communication on a constant basis, and even the updates quite often. So in that regard, I really like the engagement from everyone involved. Sometimes it's and it's normal that the creator is not pushing updates every week, because sometimes, like in my case, like this previous week, it was quite uneventful. We were just finishing up with the content, and the Chinese manufacturer was still in the works of producing the prototype. But other than that, yeah.
And in terms of, you mentioned the kind of the prototype, have you had kind of like the finished copy then? Have you been able to kind of play that yourself, or play around with that yourself now?
Oh, not yet. We hoped actually that they would give us the prototype soon before the Chinese New Year. But we failed to meet that deadline.
Right.
There was some health issues, but also I wouldn't say problems, more like challenges, like ping pong between requirements and the specifications. It's always a challenge to work with Chinese manufacturers in terms of like just the communication. If you send them an email during the normal afternoon hours, you're gonna get the response another day, and then you will respond them back, and it's just it takes a little bit more time. So yeah, we really hoped to push our timelines even earlier than before, and we would do that if we would receive the prototype like now before the Chinese New Year. But no, we're gonna receive it before I think in beginning of March. So this still puts us in the same timeline. But yeah, we hoped, but we didn't make it.
Was that slightly frustrating to not be able to see the kind of your baby kind of sitting out in front of you to kind of fully experience it for the first time?
Oh, a little bit. But they've sent us some pictures, and I think it was in the Friday. So I'll definitely post the project update on Monday and just share with the backers. I think you are now the first one who knows about our prototype timelines and everything.
All right. Okay. In terms of the Pledge Manager, I think one of the reasons that sparked off kind of you coming back on the show was when the Pledge Manager was going to be kind of closing for the additionals and extras. Is that still the case? Are you still looking at closing it? Is it next week? Mm-hmm. You're looking at closing it down now, yeah? So looking at like Tuesday or something like that, yeah?
It's on 8th of February, so I think
all right.
It's Friday or something.
Next Friday. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Has is it based on the way that the kind of the extras has been received? Is that the way that you're going to continue kind of going forward with kind of any future campaigns for games you're going to be releasing? Are you going to look at kind of having these extras in every campaign that you run on from now on?
Interesting question. Maybe, because I have a very pleasant experience with the Pledge Manager. I'm using a backer kit. Before my decision to do that, I was really on the verge of using CrowdDocs. They seemed also quite okay, and I was in good communication with them. But in the end, BackerKit won, especially. Just to be honest, they had a very interesting also marketing plans, marketing strategy that I really like. And just for the sake of Pledge Manager, first of all, congratulations on your campaign. I know that you're really 300% of your initial goal.
Yeah. So it was a shock.
Shock.
And I'm still I'm still kind of getting used to the idea. I've actually I've decided to be super organized and kind of it's different from producing a game to kind of sending out some kind of thank you items, but for those that are listening, the linen finish was an unlocked kind of jokey stretch goal that I put in there, but there will definitely be something of a linen finish for everybody who backed at the custard cream level. So I had an epiphany. I had lightning struck my brain, and I had a moment, and I thought, I could do this. So I've done that. But yeah, it's interesting kind of seeing it from the other side, and it's kind of interesting. You move from being and I can see why this kind of burns a lot of people's brains, as you move from being somebody who is trying to push marketing and to push a noise, and then you move into kind of data management and logistics because I guess unless you're using like BackerKit or CrowdDocs, the raw data that you get itself from Kickstarter isn't the easiest to deal with. Especially if you try and be clever and you put a lot of questions into obviously you're different because you're using a Pledge Manager, but I was sending out the backer surveys, were going out through Kickstarter themselves, and I thought, well, how will I do this and how will I do that? And it's interesting to see how different questions, how they get interpreted. So you're kind of like, do you want this? Yes. And if you do not want this, how do you want it? And it's like putting in if you put 2 or 3 questions in, and if you get a slightly different answer from what you expected, you're like, well, what do they mean? What do they do? Have I done something wrong? Kind of thing. So it's kind of interesting. You move in kind of like a data management thing, and then obviously the next thing I'm looking at is postage. How do I get the rewards out to people? The one thing I've seen about I think both BackerKit and CrowdDocs is it seems to be the case that when you when you sign up to use their services nowadays, they're actually offering, it's almost like marketing during the Kickstarter campaign as well. They seem to be taking the clients that they have, that they're supporting, and putting their campaigns out in kind of like a newsletter as well. Was that something that BackerKit offered you at the time, or were you too far down the line for it to be a consideration?
No. They offered that, and I took that opportunity. And but are you using a pledge manager? No, not at all. Everything.
No. Maybe the next. I think maybe the next one. I think the next one is going to be. I'm not going to go. I was thinking about, when it's like you put together the Kickstarter for the show, and I was like, I could do it next year, and I was like, well, this time next, I've got what I've got for the funding that I needed for, and I felt if I went back, and unless I was offering something drastically different, I think it's really difficult for me to say, guys, just keep kind of giving me money year in, year out for doing this. Whereas I think I'll probably, if I'm doing something next, I think we are going to be doing a game. There's actually going to be, probably start off on something. So yeah, I think that's going to be the next thing. So I think the next Kickstarter we're going to be running is going to be actually for some kind of game, as opposed to for the show. I think I'm very, very grateful for what we achieved in the Kickstarter campaign for the show. I'm kind of hesitant in going back to Kickstarter in 12 months' time and saying, okay, we need more money to keep the show going, kind of thing. Sounds like a strange thing, but I'd rather, I guess,
offer something substantial, not just
stretch my muscles, kind of thing, and say, okay, this is what we have to offer this time, and see what happens, especially with the experience, because it was a valid kind of experience. I mean, what about yourself? I mean, with this being such a successful campaign, has that brought the timetable forward for anything else that you've got on the kind of the table? Anything else that you're thinking of doing?
In a way, yeah. First of all, it was a very busy interval. I'm still in it, not just for the Machina Arcana, but just my day-to-day job. I'm a software engineer, so juggling all of that together, it's interesting. I like the pressure, so that's fine. But in terms of the Machina Arcana and just the game design and the projects, I also thought about that a lot, and I think it's not about just money, just about pushing new expansions. Like a lot of people would say, look, you have like a product that's successful. Now all you need to do is just push new expansions, and that's it. You have a golden cow. But I don't like that approach, and this actually gives me some kind of a freedom to move away from the main Machina Arcana and just to build on something that's not related to that. And this actually goes with a lot of risk involved, because I will go into uncharted territory with that. But it would fulfill me much more as a game designer than just to push the products that are related to the game.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I was speaking to when I was speaking to Stephen Bonacore, and he was talking about Alan Moon doing kind of like their game Aftershock, and saying, he did Ticket to Ride, and then that was him. He was kind of set up, and it's like it's like one of these things that you wonder if Alan Moon hadn't done Ticket to Ride, what kind of different games would we kind of have instead? It's kind of that kind of question. And you can see it sometimes with, you do get people that get, they do branch out into different types of design. I mean, obviously Richard Garfield, after doing Magic, I guess he could have sat down and just said, right, well, I'm just doing that, nothing else. But I guess he went out and did a couple of other games. Is that meant, for you, is that meant that you're able to look at something kind of completely different?
Oh yeah.
Are we going to see, are we going to see the kind of the the happy-go-lucky shiny puppy party game from from you.
Something, yeah. I would say that there's some kind of a backbone of it already in place, and it's quite strange because it is something that I tried to do even before working on my game, but I didn't had a lot of experience then, and it's thank God that I didn't went with these ideas in the beginning, because it just wouldn't work then. Even with the Machina Arcana, I did a second edition that had a lot of improvements, and only with this edition, I can just say that's it. That's the game, that's the Machina Arcana that I envisioned. But for the game that I had in mind, it was too complex and too big of a goal for me as an unexperienced game designer to try to tackle. And it's not just game design; it does have a lot to do also with the production and just the experience with people. So not just game design. So how does people react to games? What do they want? How is the normal session with the normal people? How is comprised of? What do people want from game? All of these like small bits and details just accumulated over time, and it gives me a much more perspective when I want to tackle the big one. And that's the big one is gonna come soon, and it's gonna be a very strange game because just to give you a hint, so we all want to play some kind of a RPG, a video game, but without a computer, on a table with our friends, but even on your own. A lot of those contradictory things that we think is just ingrained in the medium of tabletop. There might be some wiggle space. I'm not sure how do you call it, in order to bring something, some new experience to the table. I think I have it. Maybe it was just the stroke of, when you have the madness just pour into you, and you think you're on a good path, and then when you calm down, you realize that you made a fluke. I don't know. It's the enjoyment and it's passion, and if it drives me forward, that's all that I am interested in.
I mean, but on the other side, is there going to be more expansions for Machina Arcana? Are you going to be kind of putting out the occasional additional content for that kind of
just
going forward?
Very straightforward. No, I don't think I would do that before I create something completely new. If I fail and if I am on a beggar's stick, then maybe I'll do. Oh, please help me out! I'm on the street. I've created a new expansion. But other than that, I would like to venture forth and do some other things.
Has it put you in a different mindset in terms of where you are in a career-wise? Has it put you in the situation where you can maybe think, well, could this be something I'm doing full-time? I mean, obviously, I appreciate you've got your career as a software engineer, and I'm guessing, obviously, with this size of the size of project that you funded, you're going to use as much of that to kind of get the greatest game you can kind of out there to the backers. But is that at the same time, is that also does that help pave the way for you to move into kind of game design as more of a career choice for you?
It's not just a career-wise, like a decision that's based that's going to impact the career, but the life in general. Because I've made some decisions, together with my wife, of course, that are going to be like life impacting as well. Like one of that would be moving to a countryside. So that's a really big change, and it is in a way based also on the project and on the success of Machina Arcana, because it gives me some kind of a it puts some things in perspective, like things that should be quite important, like what's your plans in general, like what's your long-term plan, what's important in life, and how are you going to achieve that, what's important in life. And in that kind of a retrospection of ourselves, we've managed to come up with plans and with strategies that are going to completely, not completely, but greatly change. Sorry, it change how we live, and not just career. Even as a software engineer, I really enjoy my job, and it's really fulfilling. And even working remotely would be possible. And so yeah, everything is moving in a very good and healthy direction. And I'm not sure if I see myself as a game designer like a full-time job. I think it's really beneficial if I pursue that as a hobby, as a passion. If it's like a job, it kind of loses its glare. I'm not sure what to call it. It's magic in a way.
Yeah.
Because I can't just work like 8 hours to try to creatively create something extraordinary. I want to sometimes go into the forest and spend the night there, and then with a little bit of hypothermia, I realized, yeah, that's it, and I couldn't do that in the office.
No, and I think at the same time, it's strange because if you change it from being a hobby to then into a job, there's the additional pressure to necessarily make decisions that are good for the business as opposed because they're enjoyable. It's like, for instance,
Exactly.
If I said to people, if I said to people, we would do, we'd start doing kind of adverts for your Kickstarter at the beginning of the show, then that would, it'd be one of these things. It would be a case of, well, I'm starting to do that as a business decision, as opposed to maybe something that might fit in with the kind of the how the show would work kind of thing. And it's I think I see people doing that, and it's like hats off to them for doing that. And I'm kind of aware that I'm kind of worried. It's one of the strange things is, there's part of me that would be love to be doing this kind of day on, day out, and that's all I would be doing, would be speaking to people and creating content and having a damn good time doing it, let's face it, because I really, really love kind of doing this. But there's also part of me that kind of likes to be able to, I don't want this kind of completely taking over every aspect of my life, because I do know of some people that work in the industry full time that they just seem to, that's all they do, is that they just work in the industry full time, to the point that it's almost like you can see them, it is a full job. Do they still enjoy it, or are they in the situation where this is what they have to do because it's going to be difficult for them to move away and going back to doing something kind of different? Sorry, you were going to say?
Just thinking, can I do a confession online, like in your podcast? So the thing is that I don't call myself a board gamer, and I am not a board gamer, and I don't see myself as part of like board game industry or whatever you call it, because first of all, I'm not playing board games. Like I have 2 small kids and a day-to-day job, and the project to fulfill, and it's been busy in my life for years now, and I don't remember the last time that I played any board game at all. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago I played with my mom and wife, and we played Pandemic, and but that's it. So the board game is for me not just like an industry or something, or even as a job. It's more like it's a project. So I use a medium, sorry, like a board game medium, to try to create a game. It's currently like in board game medium, but I don't limit myself in that regard. And even though I enjoy board games, they are not the main the focus. Like I see a lot of game designers that are really passionate about board games, and they're always talking about board games and playing with them.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. I mean, that's what I mean. The great designers are like. They need a lot of experience with other games. But the confession is that in my case, I don't have a lot of experience with all the other board games. I'm just so focused on my game, on the project that I'm trying to bring to life, that I really don't need to know about all the other games. I somehow create a relationship with my project that just going into the smallest bits and pieces and try to come up with the best optimal way that everything works together. It's some kind like a chess or like an engineering job, and I'm not sure if it's clear, but yeah, what I'm trying to say, I like board games as a medium, but I don't connect too much about the industry and about the other board games in order to create my own, like to try to combine other games, bits and pieces from other games to create my own. I don't think like that.
No, I've seen it. I mean, I see that one of our other kind of regular guests, Emma from Emma Studios, she's got her own game. She's got one game, Quirk. She's got various different kind of variations of that game, and she is approaching it from a purely kind of business point of view. So she's kind of like, so she is kind of getting her product into retail. She's getting it into some big retail chains. She's concentrating on kind of retail distribution and everything like that. Well, at the same time, she would probably confess that she wouldn't say as herself she's too much of a board gamer. And I totally see where you're coming from, because I do know some people that are completely, again, it's immersed in the hobby, that they're a designer, but they're always picking up the latest game, and they're always talking about they've played this game, they've played that game, and I'm kind of wondering, when do you get time to design? Because doing this, doing the show, doing the podcast, I probably don't get to play as much as I do, so I'm much more selective with what I'm doing. But yeah, I think when you have an industry that's based as a passion project, so you've got people that get into the industry because they love being involved in the industry. I think it's one of the few places where people are getting involved in because they love getting involved in the hobby. And yet a lot of other businesses, people get into the business because they have an idea and they have business sense to bring that idea to fruition. I mean, you don't see, say, a lot of businesses, you don't see people saying, well, I've now got to kind of prove myself that I should be part of, I should be creating within this space by showing you all the other things that I do that's connected within this particular industry. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of that kind of thing. So I think as time goes on, I think that we'll still see people that are very, very passionate for the hobby, but I also think that we'll see very, very successful people in the industry like yourself, because they know how to make something successful and make it work, as opposed to, being up to their necks in the hobby that everybody is aware of who they are, kind of thing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly, and that's perfectly what I had in mind. For example, I had a vision as what I would like for the game experience to be, and that vision is influenced by video games, by, in a way, Magic the Gathering, by Dungeons and Dragons, all of the experience, but not board games. At the moment when I decided to go into creating a Machina Arcana as a board game, I played, and that's interesting to know, just one game, and that's Arkham Horror, and I played it a couple of times, and that's it. And that was, I wouldn't say enough, but it just sparked my it sparked my passion in a certain direction. So it's not about the board game, it's more like about the vision, and then board game was just a medium that I could use in order to bring that vision to life. And it's going to be quite similar with the second project that I'm also working on, because it's again going to be, I have just a vision, like an experience that I would like to give to players, and then I will gonna use whatever medium is there in order to bring that to life. So it's not gonna be like I'm gonna play like 100 board games and I'm gonna permutate some mechanics in order to come up with like a synergy of other ideas. It's more like I don't want to. It's an interesting word to say, but not pollute my mind with other ideas. I will try to create something from not from nothing, but try to. I want to try to create things that the game is going to create for itself. It sounds strangely, but in a lot of times, in a lot of occurrences, the game just presented with the best option. I didn't work on that.
No, I think you're right, and I also think I'd also be interested to see the number of people that have maybe had a good idea, but they've stopped kind of pursuing that idea because it's maybe, to them, it's too similar to a game that they've maybe played themselves or is already on the market. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? As in, you don't. There'll be a lot of people who'll be, I'm going to do. It's a worker placement game, and it's all about making kind of this. And then somebody will step in and say, "Well, is this not just like Viticulture by Jamie Stegmaier?" And they'll say, "Oh yeah, that's right. I'm so embarrassed. It's exactly like that game. Oh, I'm never going to make this game."
Exactly.
And they throw it to one side, not knowing at the time that maybe the game that they were thinking of creating was slightly better than what, Viticulture was, and maybe had enough different mechanics to make it different to what other games offer. And I think that's, that's another thing as well as having the confidence in the idea, because as we've said on numerous occasions, there's so many games out there, there's so many new games getting released. The release calendar for kind of like the next year is no doubt going to be absolutely jam-packed. There's not going to be really a good time if you're going to Kickstarter to release a game. On Kickstarter, you just have to have done your homework, done a hell of a lot of marketing, and make sure that you hit the right spot at the right time. Because I think there seems to be a big project coming out, all the time at the moment that everybody's going to be kind of going up against. And I think sometimes you just have to dive in and learn from the experience, as I'm sure you did with Machina Arcana.
Yeah, absolutely.
For as I say, going forward, you've got the next kind of game going out. You said the Pledge Manager is going to be closing on Friday. If people still want to dive in and pick up like the base game that was available on Kickstarter, are they still able to do that?
Until they've got until Friday. Then,
right.
Nope, okay. Nothing. And it won't be
right.
possible to order any kind of there won't be any orders possible after the 8th. And that's also like a lot of businessmen would just nod their heads and say, what, you have a product and you're just closing down all the orders. But that's it. And I'm just going to create and produce in exact the orders as they come through on the 8th of February, produce that, distribute that, and that's it. Maybe there's going to be...
You're not doing retail
no
or anything?
Retail, nothing, not additional copies, nothing. I know, it's interesting, and I have my own reasons for it, and the thing is that it's not about like money, about maximizing profits. It's also about just having some kind of a, especially for the backers, that they really are the only ones who are going to be involved with the Machina Arcana. And I don't see it as a product. I don't want it to be like a product. It's quite personal for me, and how I communicate and how the backers communicating with me. It's also quite a personal relationship, and because of that, it feels right that the game is just in a way reserved for people who were there when she was like bringing herself into the world.
Okay. Yeah, well, I guess on the other side of it, I have seen more and more in terms of kind of how manufacturing timing and stuff works. People kind of having copies ready for kind of the UK Games Expo or Essenspiel, and then, you know, having to deal with angry or disappointed Kickstarter backers who were still waiting on their pledges getting delivered while the retail version of the game was kind of out in the open. And I guess you're right. If somebody's like taken the courage, you know what I mean, to say, right, okay, I'm going to give you here, have some of my hard-earned money, and you're saying, okay, well, in that, you know, in order to kind of pay you back, and you know, here's the game, but also in the same time, you're going to be, this is not going to all of a sudden turn up at retail. You're going to be the kind of like one of the few people that kind of owns this game, this experience, and is going to kind of be unique, which is really rather cool in some ways. And, in this kind of, you know,
and it's all, in my perception, it's all about experience. You know, I'm here to give people the best possible experience, and that's also the reason why you have the soundtrack, you have the book. You don't need it, I mean, but it's there, and the lore, and it's all about bringing the best possible experience, and not just the gaming experience and the experience while playing or outside of playing, but also the experience of like being a backer, like being there for you, and that to create some kind of personal relationship.
That's brilliant. What we'll do is we'll obviously get the links for the backer kit, and we'll make sure that goes into the show notes as soon as possible, so that people can, you know, if they're, you know, first of all, go back and check the previous episode that you were on. I think it was, as I say, about the end of September. If not before maybe middle of September, I'll dig out the date and put it into the show notes as well. If people want to keep an eye on you on the internet, where do we find you on the internet webs?
Wherever you put Machina Arcana and just put a comment or a question, my crawlers, bots, and people, it all comes down to me, and I'll respond in a timely manner. So Facebook, Twitter, Board Game Geek, but even our webpage or email, wherever, I'm going to find you if you try to find me.
Sounds like a bit of a veiled threat, but
well, it is in a way, like existential,
like a Terminator type of way. If you want to keep an eye on what we're up to, it's same place as usual. Go to the Googles, search for We're Not Wizards, and we're on Facebook and Twitter, and we've got our website, and we've got our blog, and we've got our Instagram, and we've got our YouTube channel, and you can find us on all the podcast catchers like your Stitchers and Spreakers and Acast, and you can find us on Spotify, and I believe we're on Google Podcasts now as well, because Google apparently likes us. If you like us even more, there's two things you can do. You can tell somebody if you like what you listened to tonight. And this is the funny thing, is the conversations that we've been having over the last couple of weeks. I was expecting this just to be a comedy special, but it's been quite serious.
Yeah,
it's actually been quite serious and thought out, which is what I don't know, it's maybe because we're both maybe not feeling 100% well.
I'm behaving.
Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. Especially the pictures you've been sending me. Yeah, don't want to say anything more about that. But so yeah, if you like what you've listened to tonight, then please go ahead and tell somebody. Just let us know. That's one of the ways that we grow the podcast, and continue. I don't know, kind of fueling my obsession and my addiction to continue this. The second thing you can do is, if you do like us, then please jump onto Apple Podcasts and drop us a subscription, and also consider dropping us a rating. If you do going to give us a rating or a review, don't give us 10 stars, because it makes us big-headed. But don't give us 1 star, because it makes us cry. Give us something in the middle, like a 5, because it's average, and we're just a little bit average. But the person who's not been average tonight is the rather fantastic, the rather wonderful, the rather getting over a heavy cold.
It's not cold, it's pneumonia at this point.
I know that. I know. I'm just so grateful. I was like, we started coughing, I went, I should have just told him to hold on.
Yeah, Richard, really thank you for the experience and for the opportunity. It's really a pleasure.
Thank you again for coming on. There's only 2 more things to do, as usual. The first thing is to remember that we are many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards?
Well, speak for yourself, Mr. Richard.
Just had to finish and ruin it all. And the second thing is to say goodbye. So it's a goodbye from Uri. Say goodbye.
Bye. Pozdrav.
And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe, roll 6s. And if you like a bit of Machina in your life, if you like a bit of Arcana in your life, check out the links in the show notes. Because this is going to be like a once in a lifetime thing now. But until the next time, goodbye.
A wizard is never late. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.